Hey Naomi, what's going on?
Hiya, good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. So, I'm very curious, just for the sake of knowledge. How is the exchange rate calculated? Like, is there any insight that I can look into to maybe predict or to or to just any information to know like how is it calculated practically? Like what makes the shekel go down or up?
Sure. I mean, I can't predict it for you. If I could, I'd be very rich right now. However, I can give you an insight into how we calculate the exchange rate and the rate we offer you. So obviously the exchange rate moves constantly 24/7. So what happens is we buy our currency at the mid-market interbank rate from our banking providers. And then what we then do is then sell it on to you at slightly less than that. So that's how we make our money. So obviously the market is based on so many different multiple things. Obviously there can be things going on politically in the world right now that have an effect on certain exchange rates. Interest rates might go up and have an effect. There could be, we could have a recession or a depression. So it just depends on what's going on in the market and things are happening. Generally, over the last 2 to 3 years, the shekel has been very strong against the dollar and the pound and euro. However, things are a bit volatile at the moment, and we are at about a 3 month high, which is great for people selling dollar and buying shekel. However, it's nowhere near as high as it was 5 6 years ago when rates were booming. But yeah, we can't give you insight into what the rate will be, but we can help you and give you some kind of guidance on what we think will where it's roughly going to go.
Right. So, you're bringing up a very interesting point. Obviously we're recording this, this video at the time where with the war between Russia and Ukraine at the moment. Do you see any change in rate because of that? Like, is that something to take into consideration?
Yeah, well, not specifically for Israel, but obviously the ruble has plummeted, and interest rates have gone above 20% there. So that's not helped their currency, and anyone now trying to get money out of Russia is in a very difficult position. It hasn't had a major impact on other currencies such as euro, sterling, and dollar. However, we don't know the next kind of steps of what they plan on doing over there and how it's going to impact us. But again, if the dollar or sterling was to weaken and the shekel was to strengthen, then obviously we would get less dollar and sterling for our pound, for our shekel, sorry. So it just depends on what happens and how we're impacted by this. But normally when interest rates go up, it strengthens, so things like that. So it can vary, but we'll see what happens over the next few weeks.
So let's talk about that for a second. So like let's say I have a Russian client wanting to move from Russia. He will be at a disadvantage
But he won't
versus
be
an
able to get money
American.
out because there are, across Europe and the US, there have now been full banking sanctions for all Russian banks. So you cannot get money out of Russia at all at the moment. So he will not be
Oh
able to
wow.
buy properties or get money out in Russian ruble anywhere at all. There's been sanctions across all Russian banks now.
Oh wow. That's terrifying.
Yeah. So
Um,
anyone in Russia with local currency is going to find it very challenging.
right. And okay, fine. So let's talk about the Ukrainians for a second. So they're in Ukraine now. Now they're because they're at war right now.
Yes.
Their currency relative to the shekel and to the dollar, who's at more of a disadvantage during this political climate? The Ukrainians getting turning their
Yes,
money to
yeah.
shekel.
One, because obviously they're going to struggle to get their money out due to safety, and they're not able to get into the banks and initiate transfers and things. Plus, they're probably focused on getting themselves out of the country rather than their money right now. A lot of it is just pure safety. So yeah, it's a bit of a challenging time, but if they were to, for example, get out of Ukraine and maybe find peace in Israel, then eventually they would try and get their money out of Ukraine. It would be slightly challenging. There's no sanctions on Ukrainian banks. However, it's finding a way to get it out with being able to talk to your banks. Obviously, there's not many people working, so that would kind of be the only challenge. But yeah, well, there's no sanctions on any Ukrainian banks, and the currency is not necessarily plummeted. It's
Mm,
more just getting out safely and without you can't get hold of
I
anyone.
see.
So
I see. Can this affect the currency?
sorry, what was that?
Can the current situation affect the currency?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the rubles had the biggest effect globally because they've put so many sanctions on and not allowing anyone for travel. And now Apple Pay and MasterCard and Visa are also stopping transactions in Russia. So people can't even pay with their own debit cards for things. So it's all having a bit of an impact on the movements. And I know the stock market's been closed over there for some time. So yeah, it's having a bit of a movement on the markets. But until there's any real till the UK or the NATO or the US step in and make a real drastic, change to it, then there's not really going to be much effect on us until we don't really know what's going to happen until the next few days, whether they do take control over Ukraine or not, which fingers crossed they don't.
Interesting. Okay. But something like that, a political climate is just something
Completely,
to
yeah.
consider. Yeah.
It's like back when, there was the terrorist act in the US back, in 9/11, the dollar plummeted, overnight. So, things like that are going to have an effect. It's just a case of people don't know when or how. It's the same in the UK when we had Brexit, the pound dropped overnight. So that those things will impact it. But obviously we can inform you when we think that big political or potentially life-changing things that are going to happen in the market and that you may be at risk.
Oh,
but
interesting.
no one has a crystal ball. But if we know that there's Brexit coming up or there's a big election, we can try and let you know roughly and give you some kind of advice. We don't know what's going to happen, but we can give you advice as much as possible.
Right. It's just a projection. It's based
Exactly,
off of
yeah.
certain.
We can't tell you what's going to happen. No one can tell you, but we can just say this is the facts and this is what's happening over the next month or so. Maybe you want to keep an eye out and see if you're ready to move your money.
Perfect. I know we took a little detour. Did we cover everything related to how the exchange rate is calculated?
Yeah, so pretty much, as I said, obviously we buy our currency and we sell it on for you slightly less, but in comparison to your bank, they would charge you a sending and receiving fee plus a very large margin in the middle, whereas we don't get that. You don't get that with us. We're very transparent and there's never any hidden charges or fees. So you'll know exactly how much you're getting when you book in the deal. So that's really kind of the benefit of using someone like us is we calculate it very transparently. We don't try and take any extra charges that maybe you get from your bank.
Is there a service fee in terms of with you guys versus the banks?
No. So, you don't get charged to use our services. The only way we make our money is on the actual small margin on the actual transfer. But people always say, well, how do you make money then if it's that small? It's like, well, we're making thousands and thousands of payments every day. So over time it accumulates. So,
it adds up.
We're not just doing 5 or 10 people a day. It's, it's large sums of money, large sums of people that we're helping on a daily basis. So that's
right. Meaning like the banks are getting their service fees, they're getting the massive margin that they're cutting you out on, and there are intermediate fees, and essentially my $1 million can end up being like I could walk away with like $900,000.
Yeah, they can make $50,000-$60,000 on your transfer, whereas that would never happen with someone like us. So and you would know it. You can see exactly how much we're making on the deal. And then you would get your money locally in shekels.
Perfect. That's incredible. Okay, thank you very much, Naomi.
No problem.
And in the next video, I kind of want to take a little turn. I want to know your crazy stories, maybe top 3 crazy stories with regards to transferring money, whether it's with you or with the banks or with anyone else, just so we know like what's out there,
sure,
so we can
100%.
prevent that happening to us.
Definitely, 100% happy to help.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll see you in the next video.